Okay, so it is almost the end of the year, and we have been reading One Piece, and I've been trying to get caught up with One Piece for well over a year, and I thought, no, I am going to get caught up with One Piece by the end of 2022. If you did not watch last video, everything has changed, and we are at chapter 1045. It is December 10th, and as of right now, let's check. It goes to chapter 1068 on the Shonen Jump app. And you can also see the date and see how dirty my iPad is, so that's also fun. So that is 23 chapters, and I think that's easily doable by the end of 2022, but also, I have this urge inside of me. It's like a rainy Saturday afternoon. You think I could do it all in one day? Let's get caught up with One Piece. Chapter 1045, and I'll tell you this, right? Like, because I've been kind of nervous about how all this is gonna happen. Because in chapter 1044, when Luffy finally went Gear 5, and I've been reading some of your comments, we've been kind of talking in the comments down below and stuff, it almost seemed like he was going to be too powerful. And yes, it's fun when a character becomes so powerful that we get to see him beat. Trust me. If there's anybody that wants to see him beat the crap out of Kaido, it'd be me. It would be me. But what I really enjoyed, and this chapter like proves it to me, right? What I really enjoyed was Oda is really playing up the old school comic strip. I mean, Kaido even says comic strip in the chapter. The old school slapsticky comedy of those old comics that used to come out. And it is so cool to see because Luffy is really kind of out of control. In his own goofy, crazy way, he's really like out of control. I almost feel like obviously he hasn't because he just got to Gear 5, but he hasn't fully controlled this power because Kaido talks about it. How now his power is like a zone fruit and he can transfer his rubber abilities to things. Like he can touch something and it become like rubber. And some of these panels, like when Kaido hits him with his club and like the spike is coming out of his nose, like it's such cool art. And it's such a different art style. And to think about that as someone that has written 1,000+ chapters, to change up the art style of the main character is such a genius move. Like you don't see people do that. But as chapters go, we are seeing Luffy and Kaido battle it out, and we even see Luffy get drained and talk about how much that this new transformation and this new awakening has changed him, or how much energy it takes to do it. So he gets like all old and like droopy. And Kaido, I really love this part. Kaido says, well, don't worry, when people talk about this battle long after you're gone, you know, they're going to talk about your great battle. He's like, I don't care about that. When you're gone, it's nothing but bones. Like, I can't let you win. And then he turns back into Gear 5. And he looks at Kaido and he says, come on, Kaido, aren't you having fun? I am so glad that this was not like a 1 or 2 chapter fight done. I mean, it might be a 2 chapter fight. We got to get to the 2nd chapter. But I am glad that it wasn't just a one and done. He overpowers Kaido immediately. Kaido is still easily holding his own, I wouldn't say. But he's not outright losing immediately, which some manga, when the main character gets a power up, you know, they immediately get destroyed. So I'm super excited that we are getting more of Luffy and Kaido than just 1 chapter of fighting. So yeah, let's get to chapter 1046. Chapter 1046, Onigashima is on fire. All the levels, and we get to see Nami, Jinbei, Killer, all of these people on different floors kind of deal with these flames. Jinbei picks up the ocean and swings it with Fishman Karate and is basically trying to put out the flames. But we also go to Momo and Yamato, and she tells Momo that he has to basically like make these flames that make Onigashima float. Because if not, Onigashima is going to fall. And that last page of this chapter, Luffy, it doesn't say, Luffy's grabbing a lightning bolt. That's how powerful he's become? He can grab lightning bolts now? That's crazy. He's grabbing lightning bolts out of the sky. It's a great image. But this was basically a chapter of seeing what everyone else is going through and taking a break from the Luffy and Kaido fight, which I am going to guess by that last page of that panel we are about to get into in chapter 1047. So something clicked with me in chapter 1047, and it was that this battle, right? Like, Luffy has gotten this new awakening, and we've seen him get power-ups and different gears throughout this whole series. But it's something about, and the last page and in this page it kind of gets paid off, that he grabs the lightning bolt and throws it at Kaido. What dawned on me is, regardless if this is like your favorite fight of the series or anything of that nature, maybe it is, maybe it's not, doesn't really matter. This fight, and Oda is very smart for doing this. This fight, the stakes seem very high. It just comes off as so much grander. More grandiose? It comes off very grandiose. It comes off very big and very, this is gigantic. This is massive. This is the biggest battle. This Wano arc has been leading up to Luffy versus Kaido. And Luffy has now transcended into a different state of being, pretty much. And it really is coming off in the panels and in the battles of how much bigger everything is. And a lot of shonen manga do this, and I'm not saying they don't, I'm just saying that with this series, it always seems like when you think you know where it's going, or when you think you've seen the biggest that One Piece can get, Oda's like, you haven't seen anything yet. You know what I mean? Like, you haven't seen nothing. We have scratched the surface. And I think maybe the reason that my mind is thinking like that is because, unlike you guys that were reading it as it was coming out, I do know that this next saga or arc is the last one, right? So I guess maybe in my mind is making me think and making me see all these things, that this is so much bigger, and this is because it does feel like, how much further can the Straw Hats go? You know, Dragon Ball is a perfect example. Dragon Ball has this power scaling problem. Naruto a little bit too. Like all the big shonen, Bleach, you know, all the big shonen do run into this issue. And it is kind of amazing that in 1,047 chapters, One Piece never has run into this issue. But now I do feel like the issue is presenting itself of where do you go from grabbing lightning out of the sky? You know what I mean? From Luffy, the laws of physics almost don't apply. Any laws don't apply to him. So where do you go from here? And that's what makes it super interesting. But in this chapter, it is Luffy and Kaido duking it out. But at the very end, he makes this giant fist. And I think that's why that tangent just a second ago really popped in my head. His fist is gigantic, and he's going to punch through the island if they don't move the island. And he tells Momo, I believe in you, you can do it. You can get these flames going, and you can move this island, because if you don't, I'm punching through it. I'm ending it now. And I think that's where that thought process of, like, if you look at this panel and this giant fist, where can Luffy go from here? He almost seems broken right now, like a cheat code in the world of One Piece. Where does his character go from here? And that really dawned on me in this chapter. So yeah, sorry about I know it wasn't really about the chapter. Hopefully you enjoyed this part. But if not, we still got chapter 1048 coming.
Chapter 1048. Okay, so Luffy got giant fist going towards Onigashima. Momo has to move it. We kind of get a flashback in this chapter too about why the samurai, I believe they were the same samurai that was being held with Yamato, talking about how they will never go with Kaido. They will always, follow Oden. We get that little bit of flashback, and we also get Kanjiro saving Hiyori. It's been a little bit of time. We've been seeing Hiyori, but Kanjiro, I think that's who that was. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you. You're the best. But this chapter, 100%, has one of the best art pages that we have had in a good long time. When Kaido turns into like the flame dragon torch. Woo! That page. Oh, it's glorious, that page. I love that page. And we also get to see the hockey that the old man Yakuza was training Luffy to do, where he could hit without touching. We don't really get to see it. We get to see it a little bit at the very end. That payoff of that training, all the way that happened in the beginning of Wano. So again, we are still in the Luffy Kaido fight. All right, let's get to 1059. Okay, chapter 1049. You know, Oda, oh boy, I know I've said this before. Oda is unmatched when it comes to giving you breadcrumbs of stuff that he pays off later on. What I mean by that is we've been getting little bits of flashbacks here and there, and this flashback that we got is Kaido talking to King, saying, I know who Joy Boy is. He's the one that's gonna come beat me 20 years in the future. And the way that Oda cut that flashback together to Luffy punching him, I loved it. Man, that was so good. It was so good, in fact, I was actually downstairs reading this chapter, thus why, again, I have forgotten my hat. It's become more and more in every video. Just no hat for me. So very cool. That is what chapter 1049 ends with, and is that it? Like, okay, let's really think this through, right? Boy, that art though, in those final moments, because it definitely felt like, you know how One Piece has those final moments where Luffy is saying something and Kaido says, you know, what world are you going to create? And Luffy says, a world where my friends can eat as much food as they want, as he smacks him down. I mean, that definitely does seem like an end, right? That definitely, is that the end? I don't know, okay? Here's the thing. The art was great, and it was a great moment to see why Kaido shut off Wano was because he was terrified of Joy Boy, quote-unquote Luffy, beating him 20 years later. And that is why the whole cutting Wano off from the outside world happened, which is a great, like, reveal and a great story beat in Wano. Yes, I've had great fun reading about Kaido and Luffy, and if this is the final thing, I don't know, something. Okay, I am battling within myself because it feels like the end, but it also feels like there's more to come. Does that make sense? Am I making any type of sense? Am I just rambling into this camera? And I guess that chapter does kind of feel like a final chapter though, because, well, not really. It doesn't. This is what I'm saying. That's why I'm telling you. It does and it doesn't. Momo releases, like, the flames to keep Onigashima from falling at the very end. And we do get to see, again, Hiyori and Kanjiro. And him kind of saying, you have been lonely, or you fought hard for so many years. And we get to see a lot of people in Wano. And we do get that final moment with Kaido and Luffy. So yeah, it does feel like a final chapter, but I also kind of feel like the battle could have been more, if that is the final battle moment. Because while yes, a lot of Luffy's fights ends with hitting that dude pretty hard, you know, that's Luffy's move. That's the well, you know how Luffy beats people? He hits them very hard. That's what he does. So yeah. I guess I have really loved it up to this point, and I did love this chapter. I do kind of hope, though, that this is not it. I hope that in chapter 1050, Kaido's not out yet.
Chapter 1050. Okay, it's not over. I don't care what anybody says. It's not over. No way. It does seem to make you believe that Luffy has beaten Kaido and put him in like this magma, fire, land, lake thing. That's what it makes you believe. I know different. There's no way. There's no way. And a few other cool moments in this chapter is I loved. It was Toko when she lifts up the lantern for her father that says thank you. Oh, dude, if that doesn't get you right in the heart, I don't know. I don't know what will. To be honest, that was such a beautiful moment. Is the best way I could put it. Another one, Momo is the big dragon. They think it's Kaido, and Momo gets to announce that no, that fire in the sky was like the victory drum. But I have a question. Is Hiyori, I think that's who it is, going to be the new Shogun? See, I would think Momo would be the new Shogun. Like, doesn't that make sense? That makes sense to me. That Momo would be the new Shogun of Wano at this point. But the chapter ends with you to believe Hiyori and the samurai, because they announced we have brought the new Shogun of Wano. So, I guess, yeah, I mean, I'm for that, but like, what's Momo's purpose? Because I believe Momo's journey, trajectory, character arc was 100% to fill the shoes of Odin and accept that he is right up there of what his father used to be. You know, especially he's of age. He got time jumped and he's of age. So, like, he should be the next Shogun of Wano. Regardless, chapter 1050 is not the final battle of Kaido and Luffy. I guarantee it. Cut to chapter 1051. Come to find out, it was the final battle of Kaido and Luffy, and it's over. No, there's more to come in 1051. Okay, maybe I was wrong. Chapter 1051. Well, I was wrong about two things. One thing I'm actually very excited that I was wrong about. And two, I'm kind of sad. The first thing that I'm sad about, it does look like we're getting towards the end of Wano. It is very much a wrap everything up. Wano is free. Momo has decided not to open up Wano. Yet. He will, but yet. And Luffy is basically being cared for and injured. And Yamato has told the Straw Hats, I'm joining your crew. By the way, I'm joining your crew. I really hope she does join the crew because I really like that character, and her being the son of Kaido would be very interesting to see how she works in new adventures with the Straw Hats. The second thing I was wrong about, and I'm very happy, Momo is the Shogun of Wano, and his speech about being the son of Odin. Ooh! Ooh boy. Ooh, it's a good speech. Oh, it's a good speech. It's a very good speech. I love how he looks at Kaimon, right? He looks at Kaimon, and he's like kind of thinking to himself of, I don't know what else to say. And Kaimon's just like, bluff your heart out, kid. Like, bluff it out. And he just lets out this, I am, son of Odin. Oh, such a good speech. We get to see him older, and even they put in little title things of this is the birth of the person who will be later known as like the great Shogun of Wano. So I am so excited that I'm telling Momo's full character circle. He had a great character arc. Like, I think that is going to be one of the things that when I go back and reread through One Piece with Momo's introduction and knowing where his character arc ends, I think he's gonna go up there as one of the great side characters of One Piece. I mean, One Piece always has great side characters, but the Vivi. I was gonna say the Vivi. No one is at the echelon of Vivi. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I don't know if I've ever said that in a video. Vivi is up there, very much so. But yeah, and that's how chapter 1051 ends. I kind of want to look up, but I kind of don't. I don't think I will, because Oda's pretty good about letting you know when the Wano arc ends. So I can kind of gather my thoughts and do a final part of this video of my final thoughts on Wano. So I'm not going to look it up, but is this the final chapter of Wano. No, it's not going to be the final chapter. We probably at least have 2 more, right? But it is a bummer that is how the Luffy-Kaido fight ended. For how hype Gear 5 was, that it ended like that. I don't know. That sits kind of rough with me, to be honest. But yeah, let's get to chapter 1052. Okay, chapter 1050. I was definitely wrong. It is definitely over. Because they are doing the classic One Piece, like, everyone is, Luffy's back, Zoro's back. It was very funny because Sanji was like, hey, Ma said, I gotta talk to you about something. And he was like, oh yeah, I came back from like hell to kill you. It's a great Sanji and Zoro moment. Yamato goes into the men's bath. The only one was Momo. Like, what are you doing? And they are all getting ready to celebrate their victory over Kaido. But the best part, we're getting new bounties. It does not show it in this chapter, but Kid and Law, Apu gives them like a stack and says, no, here are the new bounties. And I guess they're all being referred to as the Emperors of the Seas now. So that is very exciting. Luffy's is about to be astronomical. I'm not gonna lie to you. Luffy's is going to be, oof. It's gonna be high. And I'm pretty sure that Hawkins died as well. Him and X-Drake have a conversation. And they talk about a certain man with 1%. And Hawkins, I think Hawkins is dead. Which, if I am not mistaken, is the first time that one of the bad generation has died. Am I right in assuming that? Let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, chapter 1052, we are wrapping everything up. Is this the end of Wano? Can I do my final thoughts on Wano? Because I have a bunch of final thoughts on Wano. I might look it up. I might see how many chapters. But you will definitely get my final thoughts in Wano by the end of this video. So yeah, let's get to chapter 1053. Chapter 1053, okay, all right, oof. Now we're talking. Now we are talking. So it is revealed that the bounties, Law, Kid, Luffy, all have $3 billion bounties. And you know, Kid apparently runs off. Law takes it in stride like the great character he is. But that is not all. I was wrong, right? Not wrong, okay, I was misinformed. It is announced who the 4 emperors are. We got Buggy the Clown. Good for him, you know? Blackbeard, fair enough. Shanks, obviously. Luffy makes it as one of the 4 emperors of the sea. He is now in the same echelon as Shanks, and that is incredibly exciting. Honestly, that is incredibly exciting. I can't overstate how awesome that is. Think about this. Monkey D. Luffy is now held in the same regards or infamy, or however you want to say it, depends on whose side you are, as Shanks, his hero growing up. That is so awesome. That is so good. And the new picture that they use, first off, who took that picture? I guess it was a drawing, right? It really wasn't a picture, because I had some questions about how they got that image, but I think it is probably from the drawing, right? And that's why Kid runs off, because he goes to, he's like, I gotta take Luffy out right now. Luffy just wraps his arm around him. They're celebrating their victory. None the wiser. He shows Luffy. We don't actually get Luffy's reaction, but I really did like this part as well. It cuts to a flashback of Luffy telling Momo, don't tell Wano about me. He's like, oh, why? You would be a hero. And that just kind of, and it's always shown about Luffy as a character. He doesn't care about the credit. He just wants to have fun being a pirate. And that he made one of the 4 emperors of the sea. Oh. Oh. Yes. But that is not the only revelation. Like, that's the thing. The last few chapters, honestly, have been like, I guess it's over. I still really don't know, like, did Luffy win? That's for my final thoughts on Wano. But another revelation, the swordsmith, the guy, Tengu, I believe, is Odin's father. Just didn't say anything about it the whole time. And he kind of goes into, he's having a conversation with Nico Robin. And Nico Robin says that one of, like, the great weapons is on Wano because of the alabaster poneglyph. But that's not the only revelation. No, you thought those two I'm telling you, this is such a weird chapter. The third revelation, that there's a guy called, and I know I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but you guys are always the best in the comments down below. Gucci? No, that's not right. I know that's not even close, but let me know in the comments down below. Thank you. You guys are the best as always. A Navy Admiral, he has some type of devil fruit power. He looks awesome. He looks like he is there for business. Because I believe he is on Wano. I might have misread that, but I believe he's there on Wano, or he is right outside of Wano. Because like one of his final things is, you guys have no idea about the outside world. It is a mess right now. 1053 had 3 revelations. All those things are like crazy. That Odin's father is still alive. That the Marines may or may not be on Wano. I might have misread that. Luffy is one of the 4 emperors. That's it. That's the one. That's the one you focus on, to be honest. Like, that is it. That is the one. Law and him and Kid all have the same bounties, and he is one of the 4 emperors of the sea. This is so cool. Yeah, let's see what 1054 has to say. Okay, chapter 1054, we get to see, again, help me out in the comments, Ryaguka? Maybe? He is a woodsman. He has the woods fruit power, and it's actually very, very cool. Like, there is trees, and he can grow trees out of his hand. There's trees going everywhere, and he is on Wano. And Yamato and Momo actually come to stop him, but Momo tells Yamato not to fight. I don't know what that's about. And that's a bigger thing. I might get into it at my final thoughts, but it's kind of nice, right? Especially for you guys that have been reading this for, I don't know how long this arc went on in real time, but it's nice that the outside world, like, to get back to the outside world in One Piece. Speaking of people on the outside world, we get to see Shanks, and Shanks is looking at Luffy's bounty poster. And he actually tells him, like, he doesn't want to go see Luffy, but he says, let's find the One Piece. See, this does feel spoiled for me a little bit, because I know, like, the final arc coming up is, like, the final arc, obviously. But man, when they do that image, and he's like, I think it's time that we make our play for the One Piece. End game. It feels like the end game is coming, and that's very exciting. It was great to see Shanks. We get to see a flashback of him getting the devil fruit off of the ship, and obviously his sacrifice. He touches his arm. Shanks is one of those characters, for me at least. I'm sure for other, hopefully for others too. Anytime I see him on the page or on the screen in One Piece Film Red, I don't know, he's just one of those One Piece characters that he brings gravitas when he's on, you know, the page or the screen. And I just can't wait, and I hope that he plays heavy into the end game and we get to see a lot of Shanks. I think it would make sense though, because, you know, Usopp's dad is on his ship and stuff. Like, it makes sense that if he is in game for One Piece. I think he's a great character to do that with. Another great character that we finally get to see. Do you remember? Oh, it feels like a lifetime ago. Sabo. I thought Sabo, like, had died, and I was very confused. Sabo killed Cobra, one of the 20 founding members, and he is now a revolutionary hero. They call him the Flame Emperor. They say he might even be more popular than Dragon at this point. Sabo. Dude. Yes, man. He is leading the revolutionary army. Not leading, but he is a hero. They treat him like a god, they say, which is... Question. They treat him like a god, right? Luffy kind of became a god. Is there something there? It's odd, right? It's odd that Oda would set it up that Sabo and Luffy around the same time both would be kind of referred to as God. Luffy more in the sense of taking over Nika, the sun god, but Sabo also, like, being considered a god around the same time. Feel like there might be something there. But this was a very exciting chapter of 1054, and it definitely seems like we are getting closer to the end of the Wano arc, because the outside world is finally, like, the moving pieces. Also, almost forgot this, Vivi has disappeared. Listen, I would be very sad if Vivi disappears. Great to see her back in the story, like she was kind of in the Riviera, but hopefully they mentioned her disappearance, so hopefully in the next arc that's coming up, like she is going to play a major role. That would be fun. So yeah, overall we have to be getting close to the end of Wano. I'm waiting for Oda to say in the chapters instead of looking it up, because I've been going back and forth. Should I look up? And I was like, no. For Oda to officially say like end of Wano. I feel like he's pretty good about that, so hopefully it's coming in the next few chapters, because the stuff going on in the outside world is very exciting. Okay, Shanks, let me tell you, you remember just a second ago in the video when I was like, you know who commands authority on page or on screen? Shanks. Dude used haki from the boat. From the boat. You get that? You get how powerful that is? They said, hey man, relax. The new people were foaming at the mouth. Oh, Shanks, I hope you're in so much more One Piece before the end game. That would be, I would love that. Second, Nico Robin and Law go with Odin's father, and he takes him underground to show them Wano 800 years ago underwater. And basically what he is saying is, if Wano decides to open the borders back up, it unleashes the weapon. And Nico Robin asks a very good question. If that's the case, then why did Odin want to do it? And his father goes, I don't know what he learned in his travels. Because again, Odin was with Gold D. Roger at Laugh-Tale when they found out, you know, like the thing that started all Laugh-Tale, you know. He laughed. I don't Laugh-Tale. But that brings up such a good point. Is like, why would Odin, what did he learn that made it okay? If in fact Odin knew that this would release the weapon, what did he learn that made him think that was okay and that was the right decision? We get no answer to that. It's just a question I'm kind of posing to you. Like, actually don't, because you might know, don't spoil it, but it's just a question that popped into my head when I was reading it. Another thing, and I said this in the last part of the video, I was wondering why Momo told Yamato, don't hit him. And he actually explains it, and it is such, I'm telling you, man, okay, listen, I really like Momo as a character. If you have not been able to tell up until this point, he doesn't want to do it, and he doesn't want to call on Luffy and Zoro and the Straw Hats and all their friends, because they're leaving. Yamato is leaving. And how can Momo become the shogun he's supposed to become if he depends on people? It is such a great decision by Oda and by Momo, the character. Like, it's such a great decision to be like, don't hit him, I have to handle this. Because Rakaguki, Ryo, that's what I'm gonna go with, be honest, best I got. Because it doesn't matter anymore, because, well, Shanks stopped him, but he brought the point of what no one realized, and I actually didn't even realize this at the time of reading One Piece. Kaido held a lot of people at bay with his power and his fear that he put into people. And that's what he brings up to Momo. It's like, you have no idea, now that Kaido's gone, we're not scared, we're not afraid anymore. But Momo takes that moment and basically burns him away. I mean, he grows back, but Momo shows that he has that ability. Even Yamato comments, it's just like Kaido. He is mastering his dragon form, and it is great to see. His character arc has been so good in Wano. It's been so good in Wano. I love it. And even it goes to Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro, and Sanji and Zoro's like, not bad, Momo, not bad. And then Luffy's like, oh, we don't get to fight. It doesn't look like we get to fight. And this is how this chapter ends. The hockey that was being thrown around reminded him of a familiar face. Dude, the goosebumps. If we need a Luffy and Shanks reunion, because Shanks doesn't want to go see Luffy, and Luffy feels Shanks' presence, I need to see them reunited again. I need that. But yeah, I loved 1055. I love how they're wrapping up Wano. I know I have said this in like 7 parts, that we have to be close of the ending of Wano. I'm going to give my final thoughts. I thought about this. When they leave the island, that's the end of Wano, right? Like that's kind of how this thing goes. So that's when you'll get my final thoughts on it, because I have So many. I really just want to talk about them, but I need to get through all of Wano first. So let's get on to chapter 1056. 1056. Okay, so the one thing that really, did we see this? Did we know this? Or is this the first time we're learning about this? The Cross Guild. Sir Crocodile, Buggy, and Mihawk have joined forces, and they're putting bounties on Marines. And they even say the outside world has changed so much. And that is what is so exciting about this, is the outside world has changed, and we're finally leaving this closed off place of Wano. And that is, dude, I am so excited to see how much the world has changed since they have been there. Because again, like I said, they've probably been there for a very long time. Another thing that was very funny was Odin's father, Momo's grandfather, reveals himself to Momo and them, and he asks, like, hey, I got some things to teach you, but let me go back to my seclusion. Like, don't really tell people. And all the samurais, he was like, you guys knew, didn't you? You guys kind of knew. And everybody was like, well, we thought it'd be rude to like, expose you. Kaimon's like, oh my God. Wait a minute. that was his father this whole time? Yeah, no, I totally knew. Yeah. I didn't know. Not at all. That was a great part. They put Kaimon like not knowing anything. But speaking of Kaimon, Luffy and all of them are getting ready to leave, or they basically say they have left. They did not say their goodbyes to everybody because they left out Momo and Kaimon. And they are running around like, well, why did they not say anything to me? But Yamato is still on the roof, and she like yells and says, I've decided to live like Odin did, which means joining Luffy and his crew. Again, I think she's a great addition to the Straw Hats. I actually think that she could be like, but I think she's a great addition overall to the Straw Hats. It's going to be real fun for them to go on adventures with her. And another thing, there's two more things in this chapter, and this is how I know we're like winding down. One, Luffy, Kid, and Law are deciding which way to go because the compass is pointing in like 3 different directions. Obviously, Kid and Luffy want to go in the same directions. They pull straws, and Luffy loses. And Luffy goes, well, I even lost while I'm even one of the 4 emperors? And Kid's like, you're gonna keep rubbing that in my face, aren't you? You're just gonna keep doing that. That's just gonna keep happening. And they are all getting ready to kind of sail off, and that is how we leave chapter 1056. Like I said, it is going to be so exciting to get into the new world. But the last thing that was revealed, who is the man with the burn on his face? Do we know? Is it Sabo? Because Sabo has... It's Sabo, right? Like, it's gotta be, right? Right? It's Sabo, right? That's my guess right now, because he does have the burn on his face. It's Sabo. It's gotta be Sabo. It's Sabo. Sabo's the man with the burn on his face, right? But yeah, that is the end of chapter 1056. Let's get on to chapter 1057. I am 98% sure in the next 2 chapters, we are going to start the new arc.
See, I told you he was good about saying the end. Chapter 1057 was the end of Wano. We made it. And I have thoughts. But to get to the final chapter, I was wrong. Again, I feel like I have been wrong a lot. Yamato, when she said she was going to live like Odin, she goes, he began his travels by traveling the land. And that is what she is going to. So, I think it would be cool if at some point she came back into the fold. But now I have a different theory because of how Luffy left Momo. It was such a fantastic scene of going through their relationship and how Luffy admits, like, I think of you as a little brother. I think you're a coward. Don't get me wrong. Still a coward. But fly our flag. When he throws him the flag and says, fly it over Wano. And anyone that tries to mess with you knows that they're messing with one of mine. Oh! Yes, I'm not going to lie to you. I welled up a little bit. That's the truth. I'm not going to lie. I can't lie. I don't lie to you guys. Oh, I welled up. All right? I welled up in my eyeballs. Water, tears. It was so good. And Wano is retelling the tales, obviously leaving out Luffy and all of them. And one of the last things was Kid, Law, and Luffy, and they were saying, "Oh, we're going to this port, and it's a safe port." And Kid looks over at Luffy's like, "Oh, of course you would pick the safe port. Why would you not?" There's a panel of Law and Luffy looking down. He's looking at Luffy. You just hear, like, "Jinbei, give me the wheel," and they hop off, and it's just a great moment. That's kind of how Wano ends, and how I want to start with my thoughts on Wano as a whole. And that is why I'm sitting down, because I really want to talk about this, right? I want to start off by saying this arc, while it had its ups and downs and slow moments, for sure, it definitely had those. It gave us Gear 5. And how exciting was that, like, when Luffy transformed? Like, the action scenes were great. I feel like all the Straw Hats had their moments, which One Piece is known to do. But what I really want to talk about is Wano and the characters therein that live in Wano and that we met in Wano or learned the most about or left in Wano. That's really what I want to focus on in talking about it as a whole. So let's start off with Momo. He is 100%, if you've been watching these videos and watching me read chapter to chapter, he is 100% the character that I think saw the most growth and had one of the best character arcs in this whole saga. And the reason I say that is he is still an 8-year-old boy in his brain, but he grew so much. And his growth was believing in himself. That was his growth. And I think that is such a fun thing to read or watch in anything, in manga, in fiction in general, is when you see this character have to battle within himself that he is garbage, he is trash, he is, worthless. When it's done well, and Oda is Oda. I don't know if you know that. Like, hey man, Oda, fantastic writer. One of the best of this generation. 100 living for sure. And I don't think it can be understated what he went through and what he became. And yes, obviously he had, I think, physically the biggest growth ever. He literally became a child to a man to a giant dragon, right? Like physically he changed the most. But also I think internally he changed the most, because he went from this kid that we had met earlier, and we learn all of this backstory. And we learn kind of why he is the way he is, from the pervy little boy with Nami and all that. We learn why he was like that, and then we watch him grow into not becoming the Shogun of Wano, right? Like he is the Shogun of Wano, but he's not. His potential is still not there, so we don't even see his growth yet. But it was still such a journey to watch him grow into believing in himself. And what I also loved in turn with that is we got to see Luffy be outside his character norm that we normally see. We get to see Luffy give him tough love. Like, some of my favorite parts, you can go back to the videos and watch them. Some of my favorite parts of this was when Luffy was literally telling Momo, like, you suck. You're terrible. You're this. Are you just a headpiece? Are you just a mouthpiece of Wano? Like, suck it up and become who you are. We actually got to see Luffy in that mentor relationship that we haven't seen before with that character. And I think that, I don't know, for me, that can't be understated. Another character is Yamato, I guess, would be the second biggest side character, right? Here's the thing. I think she is fun. I think her backstory with the samurais and, wanting to be like Odin, and her character, I do think, this is just my opinion, I do think they could have delved more into her being Kaido's son. We get a lot of it, but I feel like it could have been a little more fleshed out, personally. And that's why I was kind of hoping that she would become part of the crew, because I think her backstory and her story, and again, like, Oda is great at coming back and really hitting us with stuff, right? We know that. I think her coming back and her being part of the crew and being for the Avengers, I think the reason that I gravitated towards that was to learn more about that character, because she is a very interesting character that I think could have a lot of growth. Like, Momo might have been my favorite character in Wano when it comes to side characters. Now, hey, listen. Whoa, pause. Nah, hold on. Not my favorite character. Favorite side character, Wano. Let's be very clear. Let me get right in the very clear. Momo, if we just saw him at like the final thing of One Piece, right? We saw him get the newspaper that Luffy had found the One Piece. And we saw that he had made Wano into a flourishing country. That's enough to end that character because we got a lot of it. Yamato, I think there's a lot of depth to be explored there. I really do. And then for the villain, Kaido, here's the thing. Okay, this is another big thing that I want to talk about. While I loved Kaido as a villain, I really did. He's no Doflamingo. You know, if I was going to rank villains, wouldn't say he's Doflamingo. But he's really good. He's a fleshed out villain. He looks really good in the action panels. He's a great villain. I want to talk about Luffy and Kaido's fight. I loved the world building of Wano. I loved the samurai aesthetic of Wano. I loved the deep dives into like the lore with the poneglyphs and the weapon and Nika, the sun god, and we got to see a little bit of Shanks, which was fantastic. We got to see Sabo, and in Wano, we got to learn about the samurais and Odin's story. Should I go back? Maybe Momo's not my favorite. Odin's pretty good. When he was holding them up, when he was holding them up, can we all just, that was awesome. That was so fun. Not fun. He was boiling alive, but like it was a great moment. Odin had a lot of great moments. So I might want to back up on the Momo thing, to be honest. Odin had some great moments. But the world of Wano and the aesthetic of Wano, I absolutely loved it. But I love samurai stuff. So I kind of am biased on that, I guess. So I could totally understand if people are not into the samurai aesthetic. This would not be one of their favorite arcs. I get that for sure. Because you would have to like that kind of stuff because it is a lot. I think arcs in One Piece kind of is doing lessons on certain things. Every arc is doing a lesson on certain character traits. And I think this was a lot about loyalty and generational family, I guess is the best way to put that. I think that's kind of why you had the jumping in 20 years and stuff. And when I say generational family is more of how to live up to an expectation set up for you because of, who your father is or who your mother is or who your, a great grandfather is. It's been done in stories a lot, but I think that is one of the character traits that it's kind of trying to teach is loyalty and family and kind of the sins or the hopes of the father falls to the son, that classic story beat. And I think it does it very, very, very well. So I do that tangent, say all that tangent to say, like, I think if I had to pick a lackluster moment for me, wow, how amazing and how hyped the Gear 5 transformation was. And the fights in general, I think the fights in Wano were great in general. I think the end part of the fight, not the whole fight, the end part of the fight, it didn't feel like a solid conclusion. Yes, Luffy had a giant fist in the air. I give you that. And he hit him very, very hard. I totally understand what you're saying. I get it. But think about the Doflamingo fight, right? Just to put it out there. Like, that felt like a definitive end. Like, he is literally locked up, right? And I'm not saying that the characters have to be locked up or have to die or whatever. It can be left ambiguous, but with that ambiguous comes sometimes the end literal punch, no pun intended, of that final fight fell not flat, but it could have been more. And I would say that's my biggest complaint with the Wano arc. But overall, I think that this had some of the stuff that One Piece is the best at. Like I said, Oda is the best with aesthetic and character design. He's one of the best writers in manga or in fiction when it comes to side characters and making you care about those side characters and giving the world feels alive. One Piece is one of the best world builders that there is. Point blank period. To me. to me, and probably to you too. Again, it would be weird if you've watched all these videos up to this point, but you just hate watch them. You're just like, man, I love to watch people that love something and I hate it. Fair enough. Hey, I'm just glad you're here. Hopefully you're having a great time. You know what I mean? I'm glad you're here. Thanks for hanging out. Hopefully I can convince you that One Piece is good and fun. If not, your opinion is valid. Might be wrong, but it's valid. I should cut that out of the video. I'm sorry. My One Piece fandom is showing. You know what I mean? And obviously it cannot be undersold, and that's kind of why I haven't really talked about it, because I do want to do kind of a bigger video on it. Hopefully I can do it pretty soon. I really want to do that one, like, well researched and well done. But Luffy's devil fruit, right? It gave us that moment, and that moment for One Piece as a whole will always go down as it was one of the biggest moments of One Piece. It changed. We had been following this character for 1,000+ chapters, and it just changed everything we knew about the powers that Luffy had. It truthfully did that. So I don't want to go into it on the end of this video, because again, this video is probably long enough as it is. So I'm gonna really work on it and do a video on it one day, hopefully soon. But really, first I gotta get caught up with One Piece. We are like, I think there's 1069. That's how many chapters are out right now. So we're close. Oh, we're close. I'm going to try to get it done by the end of the year. Fingers crossed. So wish me luck. You know, I'm going to try to get caught up with One Piece by the end of 2022, which gives me like 20 days-ish. Doable. It's 12 chapters. 12 chapters, 20 days. So there's probably going to be a video very quickly after this one. But also, Wano left us with questions, right? And that's one of the big things that I'm so excited about too, is we finally get to go back out into the real world and see how the lands have changed since we've been in this Wano for so long. And we get to see what's going on with Sabo being like considered a god to these revolutionaries. We get to see how the bounties, and Luffy is now a 4 emperor. We get to experience all that, and that's what makes it so exciting. We get to experience, again, spoilers for myself, but we're in the final run, the end game of One Piece. Like, we are there. Now, who knows how long Oda is going to make this arc last? We don't know. But we have spent time in this land, and now I'm ready, just like the Straw Hats, to leave and let's go. Let's go back onto the Grand Line. Let's go back out into the world and see how much has changed since they've been in there. And what has changed because of what they've done at Wano. Besides just the bounties and the 4 emperors of it all. Like, what else has transpired? With Dragon, you know, we have the elders. We have the poneglyphs and the weapons. We have this overarching story that the guy with the scar on his face, or the burn on his face, like, who is that? You know? We have these questions, and that's what I think makes a great arc, is it gives you, or at least a great arc in One Piece. It gives you a great world to live in. It gives you a great story to be told in that world, while also giving you breadcrumbs of the larger picture. And I think Wano did that. On top of, like I said, changed Luffy forever. And I think that's really all that I ask out of One Piece, is to give me a fun ride while also building this amazing world that is One Piece. And I think Wano did it fantastically. Again, like I said, it's not perfect, and it's probably not, you know, my favorite arc. I literally just thought about a video of ranking the One Piece sagas and arcs, and I am not yet. No. Maybe when One Piece ends. But until then, I don't. Oh, that would be a 2-hour video of me not committing to anything. No, I'm not committing. No, thank you. Nope. Maybe this one. Maybe this one goes here. But no, we're not doing that. But yeah, I had a fun ride in Wano. I am kind of glad it's over, and I am ready to experience the world of One Piece as it is right now. I know I started this video saying that I was going to catch up with One Piece, but I feel like this is a great spot to end it. And like I said, I am going to try to get caught up with One Piece in 2022. So expect the next video as very, very soon. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. And as always, I appreciate you guys so much. You make reading One Piece and doing these videos and talking with you guys in the comments some of the most fun that I have. And you make it very special for me, to be honest, if I can be honest. So I really appreciate you. So thank you. And if you're having a bad day, I hope it gets better. And if you're having a good day, I hope it becomes fantastic. I'll see you next time.